Fix Washington. Now from the state capitol, here's Hannah Scott.
First, let's check in with Representative Andrew Barkis.
Good to be here today.
Good to have you here. Yeah. So, all right, we're a few weeks into the 2025 session. There's a lot going on. How would you describe the first few weeks?
There's a lot of words I would use to describe it. I can't really say on your podcast, but the podcast is Fix Washington. We have a lot to fix. Right. And all of a sudden, in the first couple of weeks, it just has been coming at us rapid fire. And when I think about the policy that's coming at us, it's not good. And so this is my 9th year, 5th term, and long sessions, usually you kind of lead into it, and there's, kind of stuff that's gradual, but no, we had rent control from day one in committee, in the Housing Committee. I mean, probably one of the most controversial, bad pieces of policy that we're going to see this year. Well, there'll be plenty, but that is one of them that's been going. Started budget cabinet the first day. Of course, the budget that I'm working on is my ranking and transportation, fraught with problems. The spending issue translates into the transportation arena. High costs are driven, in my opinion, and many, by all the policy and regulations that's been added on to these projects, and it just keeps pushing them up. So we have a lot to solve. The governor, his budget that he gave us to work with, he identified $1 billion shortfall, but really didn't tell us where to take or work with it. So it's going to be a lot of work. It's already exhausting, and I think that it's not going to let up.
So let's start with the transportation budget. You're the lead negotiator for the House Republicans there. And did I read that it's like $1 billion behind?
Yeah, so the problem with the transportation is that we don't have the revenue issues per se as operating with the spending issues. What's really driving the transportation world is, like I said, the increase in cost. So most of the agencies and the maintenance level work that we're doing fits within kind of the normal parameters that we've seen over the last several years. But these projects that we see all over the Washington state, so think 520, 405, Yelm Bypass, all these different things, those are being impacted by ever increasing costs. So we appropriate a certain amount of money, we come back 6 months later and they say, well, it's 40%, 60%, 100% higher. And so that has, if you project that out over the course of time, it's several billions of dollars over the course of time that we're going to have to find. So the way you do that is either A, more revenue, which is we're not for doing more revenue, or you have to look at these projects and either postpone or make cuts. But also I've proposed a piece of legislation that says, hey, we should look at all revenue sources, including the Climate Commitment Act money that is going towards a lot of different things. With the initiative failing, it's pretty clear they made a big point about, this is all for transportation. My bill just says, let's use it for transportation. It's a significant amount of money that is existing revenue that could be used as part of solving this problem.
So early in the process, obviously something to keep tabs on, though, as we move forward.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the bill is sitting there. We're pushing to get a hearing. It's very interesting. A lot of organizations and groups are, even those that I've reminded them that they were the ones that supported, killing this, the initiative. Well, now they got to step up because they're the ones that said it should be used for transportation, so they need to back my play and help me to get a hearing on this bill and get it moving. Because when we're doing that budget negotiation, we're going to have to take all things into consideration. I've also heard, and I know it's going to be a fact, we are going to be looking at other revenues being proposed, new revenues being proposed as part of the conversation.
All right, and let's move to housing. It's been a crisis for a good long time now. Yeah. I think probably since you've been in office. You have some solutions, I think, in the Housing Committee. What can you tell me about that?
Well, I'm still working on the supply side. It's the crux of it is we have a lack of supply. We've had that situation. I would argue that it was created years ago by policy, and namely the Growth Management Act. So now we're kind of picking at it by doing different piece of policy. The one bill that I've been working on for the last several years, lot split, is a good way of getting more supply within our urban growth areas and such. It did come out of committee. It was voted out of committee just a day ago. So that is a good move. Hopefully it will get to the floor and get through the processes here. But the interesting thing is, Hannah, that every time I sit in these hearings, we'll put forth one good bill, and then I hear about 2 or 3 other bills. And I'm listening to people, the same people who are saying, hey, we need supply, crisis, are the same ones arguing against the ability to do good policy, while at the same time introducing more bad policy, which will actually make the issue worse over time.
Can you fix that?
You know, of course I could. I mean, we can. I mean, I always kind of joke. I said, come on up to my office. I can show you drawers and boxes full of policy that I've been working on over the last 9 years that really, if a lot of that had been considered or implemented, probably wouldn't be in as bad a shape as we are now. And a lot of it does revolve around, you know, getting out of our own way. We have to break down these barriers. We have to fix the permit system. We need to take a hard look at GMA. And the big thing is we need to really be thinking about buildable land. That is going to be the one thing that they are not wanting to address, that we really need to address, because it is the entirety of the state. This is not just a Puget Sound issue. This is the entirety of the state of Washington. We have a lot of available land. We just can't build on it.
And switching gears to public safety, specifically, you've got a couple of bills in that area. Graffiti, accountability, which I think everybody can get on board with, and also blocking those highways when we were talking about protesters, right?
Same thing. Trying to get them heard in committee. You know, interesting thing about the graffiti bill is one that I've been working on. This is one of the most popular pieces of legislation I've ever worked on, because I think the people of Washington State are sick of it. I mean, our areas look horrible, right? Yeah. And it is rampant. So this bill it is an accountability bill. It does increase penalties. I'm trying to get a hearing. Last year, it passed off the floor unanimous, and then it died in the Senate. So I've talked to the chair again, trying to get that. The blocking the freeway, again, another common sense piece. But you know, there are many ways to protest, to exercise your First Amendment right, but you cannot, it's illegal to block a freeway or a major road, and we've seen that over the course of time being used. I'd love to see that get a hearing in this environment, in this climate, in this legislature, where we're doing just the opposite on accountability and consequences. More than likely, probably not going to get a hearing on that.
And we've seen that have deadly consequences on our freeways.
Yeah, we have. A protester died a couple of years ago, and the State Patrol was sued on that. A lot of people were. But, you know, that is another one that when people saw this happen and they saw that piece of legislation, they said, hey, thank you. Thank you for trying to fix this problem. They shouldn't do this. And it's just a matter of time before they do it again. Yeah.
Last question, because we're running out of time.
Sure.
As much as you can. So this session, the House Republican Caucus has 39 members. You've been here when I think we had 48, maybe?
When I first started.
So explain the difference in the dynamics for us this time.
Well, you know, it is tough. We've seen the action just this last Friday with the changing of the rules, 132 years, suspending our ability to have robust debate, our speech. You know, I think that is becoming more rampant. The majority is feeling more emboldened because of the numbers. But I will say this, you know, I've been in a lot of caucuses, you know, in this room, 48 and 39. This is a fantastic caucus. And we may not have the numbers, but the talent level is amazing. And I always say we punch a heck of a lot higher than our weight limit. So I'm very confident that we are going to do good things as a caucus. Of course, we want more members, but it is a great caucus, and we're going to see that talent level, especially in those who came here a couple years ago. Now that they're in their second term, you know, that's really when things start to gel and you start to understand. And we're seeing some of those members now in leadership positions and ranking positions, and really for them a chance for them to shine. Along with the rest of us with the work that we have ahead.
So don't count House Republicans out just
yet. Never count us out. We've got a lot to do, and we're going to do it. We've got 105 days in front of us. Well, maybe not quite, because we're in week 3 or whatever day it is. I don't know what day it is. But absolutely not. I mean, we will continue to do things. And, you know, when people say, oh, you're not doing it, look, we are. We do every single day we show up here. And we're not going to give up. Our voices are not going to be censored. We are going to continue to put forth the right ideas, because we do have the right ideas to fix Washington.
All right. Representative Andrew Barkis.
You bet.
Thanks for stopping by.
Always.
Thanks for joining us for the Fix Washington podcast. Now let's check in with another one of our freshman members. 31st District Representative Joshua Penner, thank you so much for joining the Fix Washington podcast.
Of course, I love your energy.
Thank you. I appreciate that. It's sometimes hard around here. We have long nights sometimes. So thanks for joining us. Your first year here serving as a Republican state representative in the House of the Washington Legislature. Tell me, what's it been like here in the first few weeks for you?
Well, my first year serving as a legislator, that's for sure. I've been in local government for almost 15 years, so I'm not unfamiliar with the halls down here. Been down here a lot advocating, but this is the other side of the fence. I think some of the things that surprise me are the depth of knowledge of many of the members, particularly our leadership. But even those who have been around just one term, and just is a bad word, but the depth of knowledge of, you could call them our sophomore members, is just incredible. We've got great leaders, ranking members on committees, our floor team. A lot of them are sophomore members, and they are just kicking butt. So it gives me a great goalpost of where I should be as I learn this job.
Exciting? It's exciting to be here?
It's exciting because I'm a policy wonk, and
Right.
as I like to say, we have a lot of opportunity to fix things. And I think that's a good place to be. Not that that's where we want to be in Washington, but if you want to come here and you want to have a mission to fix things, we're in a good place because everything is a problem right now.
And I think that you have 4 committees, am I right on that?
At least 4.
Four that I
One
saw.
of them seems to be 2 or 3 committees at once.
Right.
Yes.
So a couple of the things I noticed about you is that you have you're on the Appropriations Committee and the Finance Committee, and that's a rare thing that I see one member who's on both. And it's an interesting year to be on both, I would say, right, with the budget situation. What's been your take so far as being part of that?
Well, I enjoy the opportunity to be on both sides of the budget conversation coming out of local government. You know, I've been fingers in the pie for probably a dozen budgets through all sorts of economic environments at the local level. And so you add a couple more zeros, and that's doing it at the state. I think the big surprise to me is how out of touch Governor Inslee's budget was with reality. And then being on the finance side, I get to see what the revenue assumptions are. Being on the appropriation side, I get the opportunity to review the assumptions that everyone brings into the conversation. And I think you're going to see a really good demonstration of what a Republican budget looks like in the next couple of weeks.
And also you're on, and I never get the entirety, I think we call it the TED committee, but it's with the veterans on the end. And I know you are a Marine Corps veteran, much like my own husband. So what are your goals on that? Is it the veterans aspect of that, or tech and economic development a big priority for you as well?
Well, that committee is really exciting in ways I didn't anticipate. You know, I really want to be part of the appropriations and finance conversation, considering the finance background in local government. And this committee, it matches a lot of my, I think, strengths in a number of areas, things that came from outside of government. And so I've certainly worked in veterans work and supporting veterans for 16 years now. But the technology piece fits very close with my personal passions, and the economic development and everything else works as well. One of the first things that we evaluated in that committee was emergency response, disaster response policy. It's an area that we are not ready for. A subduction earthquake,
Right.
a massive eruption from Mount Rainier, all sorts of challenges that we're not prepared for, and even the ones that we think we're prepared for, I'm not confident that we have the organizational structure to respond very well.
So something you'll focus on in your committee, hopefully.
Oh, 100%. You know, I was mayor during COVID, and I saw what a response to an unanticipated natural disaster was, or a disaster of some
Right.
sort. And it was very frustrating for many of us across Washington state.
Yes.
That's an understatement.
Yeah,
I'll tell you from the mayor's perspective.
Right.
It was very uncoordinated, disjointed mess that created a lot of distrust in government, and I think that's why you have such a strong cohort of freshmen here and sophomores. These are folks that came out of that distrust that really had an opportunity to improve things.
And then any other committee work or bills that you have that you want to talk about that's going on right now?
Well, I have one bill as a freshman right now that's already dropped, and this is relating to childcare, particularly around businesses that provide childcare as a matter of their business for their employees, and it's a B&O tax write-off. So keeping those tax dollars immediately where they're needed, rather than going through the filter of having the state collect them and then having to apportion or appropriate them. So I think it's just an efficient way of using money that was already going to be taxed.
Right.
I'd rather not see the B&O money come out of the businesses, but if it is going to come out, I'd like to see it applied immediately where it's levied. And then I have a bill that should be bipartisan dropping this week around It's really in the weeds, but it's called the Administration of Plats, and it should streamline permitting, and I've got support on both sides for this.
Permitting for housing, is that what we're talking about? Or for
Well,
other
there'll be-
permitting, all permitting?
It's permitting for any sort of subdivision. So it refines a whole section of code. So you can call it a reform bill, but in reality, it streamlines and standardizes a lot of the processes that in local government don't need to be complicated, except for the GMA has created these derivative problems that you have 281 cities looking at it differently and 39 counties looking at it differently. And I think there's a way to strike that balance and not take away the rights of those local jurisdictions, but still create some streamlining.
The ultimate goal being some faster, tangible results, hopefully.
Well, absolutely. If you want to subdivide your land and you have permits ready for that, or you're ready to submit for permit on that, and you're ready to maybe submit on building permit stuff, you can submit those in parallel, and you should expect to receive a response back within 30 days, and the jurisdiction should be empowered to do that.
Awesome. All right. Look forward to watching that. Finally, last question that we're asking all of our freshman members. When you're done being a state representative or here at the legislature, what do you hope your legislative legacy is?
Whether in 2 years or more than 2 years, I don't care if my name's on a bill. I want good policy. That's been from day one. It's not about getting a name on a building or on a bill or some vanity issue. It's about sometimes stopping bad policy. Sometimes it's about improving bad policy to be palatable. And sometimes it's about building a good coalition where everyone can agree this is obvious policy. That's not always the case. It's a team sport here sometimes. And as we saw last Friday, even good ideas like allowing staff to have 8 hours off a day fails to the team sport mentality. And I think the people of Washington see that.
All right. Well, thank you so much for stopping by, State Representative Joshua Penner. It was a pleasure.
Of course. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for tuning in to the Fix Washington podcast, brought to you by the Washington State House Republicans. Join us for our next episode when we sit down with State Representative Jenny Graham, the new ranking Republican member on the Community Safety Committee. We'll also meet another one of our new freshman members. I'm Hannah Scott. See you next time.
Fix Washington with Hannah Scott, a podcast from Washington House Republicans. Go to our website, houserepublicans.wa.gov. Find us on Facebook, X, Instagram, and YouTube.